Good evening everyone tonight and welcome to the GT3s at Bathurst as we are here in qualifying at the moment. We have a 15-minute qualifying session. 4 minutes of it have gone. 11 minutes of it remain. On your left-hand side are the current standings of the session. Ismail Yakubu currently sits on pole position with Sven Deutschmann just behind. Nate Idians is in third, followed by Andreas Loeffler and Mark Keeble. We've got so many cars going to be heading out tonight. 27 drivers are currently in the server. And this is going to be a really good battle, I think. Bathurst, not an easy circuit by anyone's means. It's a very difficult circuit, in fact. It's going to be extremely close, but drivers are going to have to be as patient as they can. 60 minutes of racing. It's hopefully going to be clean. It's definitely going to be good racing for sure. So I'm just getting up the information now. Tonight then, yes, we've got 15-minute qualifying here. We've got an hour race. There is a mandatory stop involved within that hour. We've seen so many times in previous events that in that mandatory pit stop time, we've seen so many people gain time, so many people lose time. We've seen battles become redundant after the pit stops. We've seen new battles being sparked after the pit stop stages. So it's going to be interesting when drivers come in. We've got so many different car manufacturers out on track tonight as well. We've got a Bentley currently up at the top of the standings. We've also got the BMWs running. We also have Fords, Corvettes, Roofs, Audis, and then we also have an Alpina as well on that track. And then actually we've also got a B4P, so that is a P45 on circuit as well. So many cars running around. We're going to get the information up here. We're currently watching Ismail Yakubu come through the final corner. His first sector was quicker, however the second sector a little bit slower, and it is going to be improvement still though, a 201.939. The first driver of the session to go into the 201s. And sure, we did see some 2-minute flats during the practice session. Greg McAuliffe, though, a really nice first sector there, running the fastest. This is running his personal best in the second sector, but not fastest overall as he heads down to the long straight here. With 9 minutes to go in the session, drivers were pushing their hardest to get into a higher position as they can in the session. The circuit certainly not an easy one to overtake on, specifically in the mountain section of the course, which is about half of the lap. And after turn number 1, your overtaking opportunities pretty much go out the window almost immediately for most of the lap, and you've got to sit behind the car in front, and if they make a mistake you can capitalize on it, but there's not many overtakes that can be done on the mountain. But Greg McAuliffe, will he improve on his laps? Currently in 4th position. He does improve to 203.222, but it doesn't put him up any additional positions. Ismail Yakubu once again running faster in that Bentley as he's coming now down out of the mountain section. He's heading up to the end of the lap. Coming down now, he's looking to beat that 201.939. Like I said, I'm sure I saw some 2-minute flats during the practice session. Tensions are a little bit higher, so drivers sometimes can't push as hard as they have been able to in the practice session. We've seen that so many times in a variety of different events, in leagues and club events alike. But Ismail Yakubu then coming through the final turn here, heading across the line, and it is not, yes it is, no improvement there, only just not an improvement. But Ismail Yakubu is going to pull up as Christian Moreau heads out of the first corner. Then we're going to ride on board a lap of Christian Moreau here around Bathurst. Christian Moreau aborts the lap coming into the final sector. He did have a few issues there coming up through the main mountain section. He was down in the first sector, and then a couple of scrapes of the wall as well meant that he wasn't able to improve on a lap there. We're just going to go have a little look as at Jazz Forsberg as he just gets going here. Jazz currently in 13th position at 204.441, but no, he pulls over on the side of the final corner and he gets going once more. So some issue for Jazz there. And he aborted the lap before even starting the lap. Do the final corner once more. Will Jazz get going this time in the BMW? Yes, he does. He goes across the line then. Let's see if he's able to improve. Heading up to turn number 1 now. Shoot right to the limit over the apex. Making sure he doesn't track extend. There's a moment you run just slightly wide on race room, it automatically gives you a warning for going off of the track, and your time is invalidated. Coming up though onto the mountain section through turn number 2, keeping it very much within the white lines. But if you go outside of the white lines, and most of these corners of Bathurst, you're into a wall. Coming up through then. Again, putting it to the very limits of the circuit. That's what we're going to be seeing in this qualifying session. I'm sure we'll see people going a little bit gentler during the race, but drivers still probably pushing as far as their car really can take them. Not specifically during the opening lap though, because the opening lap is going to be extremely close and we don't want people pushing as hard as they can when you're in a massive pack of 27 cars which are going to be going out here at Bathurst tonight. Into the final 5 minutes of the session, Jazz Forsberg improves on his lap time in the second sector. His first sector was a little bit slower. Coming off of the mountain now, the BMW is going to roar down the long straight. This is where we're going to see one of the major overtaking locations is up towards this chicane. People can get into slipstream runs side by side. You can even get the overtake confirmed through this slight right-hander here. Under braking here, though, we might see cars attempt to go side by side. But coming down into the final corner now again, another overtaking location. I think turn number 1, turn number 2, and then the final 3 turns are probably the only place you can get an overtake. That's if you really try extremely hard. Just Forsberg going to come across the line. Is it going to be improvement? Yes, it is. 204.349, but it's not a gain in position, unfortunately. Not quite enough to catch up to Tony Versity there. So we're looking at Alexander Anderson here, who's currently running his fastest lap of the session. He currently sits in 14th position, 3.5 seconds behind Jacobu. But his middle sector puts him in the exact same gap, well, pretty much in the same 10th of a second that Jazz Forsberg had going into the final sector just last lap. And that was an improvement for Forsberg. So will Anderson be able to catch up and maybe even get past Jazz Forsberg here for P number 13 in the session? Going to come across the line. It's a 204.724. It is an improvement, but it's only an improvement by half a second, which sounds like a lot, but it's not enough to gain a single position though. As you now look at Jose Paulo Miranda, also on his quickest lap time of the evening, currently in 20th position, 5 seconds off of Ismail Yakubu's time. As he's going to come across the line, it looks like it will be an improvement. It is, and it moves him up into P number 15. Luckily, Anderson got in that improved lap time. Otherwise, he would not currently be in 14th. We're looking at Ismail Yakubu, though, through that first sector. Fastest of the fastest of the session so far. Pushing right to the walls here. Through the mountain course. Through the mountain section of the course. And look how close he's getting, just not afraid of those barriers, getting as close to them as he possibly can. And he's 0.129 up in the second sector, but the rear end kicks out, coming off the mountain, very close to the wall, but just keeps it out of the barriers. He's now heading down the very long straight. In qualifying, it's going to feel ultra long, just heading down this straight. Your speed just ever so slightly gaining as you go along. But in the race, it's going to be more of how long are you going to slip in the slipstream before going for a move. Heading down now into the third to last corner, getting the braking point correct is Jacobu. Yes, he gets running through the penultimate corner there. Now heading down to the final turn. Will we see Jacobu get into a 2 minutes? No! Ismail Jacobu dives out of his lap. That is very strange to see. Ismail Jacobu was running the fastest lap of the session, and he dived out of it like right at the last moment. But Laurie McLaurin improves his time to a 2:05.608, moving himself from P20 to P number 17. Colin Hurks also running his fastest. Will he be able to get knocked up the field? No, because he loses it out in the final sector by about 200 on his previous best lap. He's still got a few drivers out on the circuit, but not too many. Tony Versity, one of the drivers still on the circuit, looking to improve in his lap time. He can easily get past both 12th and 11th position of Lana and Parginos. Is he going to be able to do that? Yes, he is. He even gets past Jazz Forsberg, actually, and moves up into P number 10 in the dying stages of qualifying. Tony Versity sneaks into the 5th row on the grid. Kamil Gwiazdzinski is running around now as the session ticks to a close. He runs off the circuit. Doesn't look like he's going to be able to finish this lap as we are now at the end. Just a quick look at the results before we head across. Jacobu on pole, Moreau on second, Metcalf and Deutschmann just behind. Loeffler and Idians in 5th and 6th, Keeble and Bacchus in 7th and 8th. Charles Baccio and Tony Versity round out your top 10. You can quickly have a little look through the rest of your order as we'll almost go across into the race session. Tonight's going to be really good, I think. 1 hour of racing is going to be extremely close tonight, I think. And that mandatory pit stop that's going to be opening up for all drivers. They have to complete a pit stop in this race. It's going to change the order around come that stages. But first, we've got to get off the line and get the first section and the first portion of the race underway. It's going to be interesting what drivers do through that mountain course, through the mountain section of the course, because it's going to be extremely tight with 29 drivers we have increased here. So we're on 29 drivers are going to be going out onto the field at the tonight for the race. So 29 cars heading up into that mountain section. It's going to be extremely close. I actually cannot wait for this one to get going. As we just come to the end of the session, I'm quickly going to have a drink and then we'll bring you the race. We are on the grid here then tonight for the GT3s around Bathurst. 1 hour of racing awaits. One mandatory pit stop for all the drivers. 29 cars are going to be starting tonight's motor race, and it's going to be interesting to see how it starts. So we've got about 15 seconds till all drivers need to be onto the grid in order to start this race. We should see the lights start to build up for these drivers very shortly, and then we will get going. The timer comes to a close. We're about to get going for 1 hour of racing here. And we are a go. As there's already a few cars off in the background. Some drivers still going side by side. A little bit of contact. We're going into turn number 1. They're going to be trying to go as cleanly as possible with McLaren straight up the inside. There's already a spin in the background. It seemed to be the McLaren that didn't get his braking point right that has gone off. But everyone else has been able to get going now as they roar past the camera. They're extremely loud. All of the engines that are just going through as they're heading up now into the mountain course. Blue drivers start to sort themselves out. It seems that they are still running side by side into turn number 2, almost 3 wide, near the rear of the field. There's still a couple of cars going at it for position. Most of the cars, however, sorting themselves out now. Some drivers trying their hardest to gain positions in the early stages of the race, but for the most part, drivers are now in single file. And just up ahead, actually, we do have a couple of cars running side by side. And they're going to try as hard as they possibly can to run it side by side. That's Mike Davies running with Robert Servicangos there. Servicangos has lost out a couple of positions there as Niall Lana being able to make his way through and up the field of this opening lap of the race. But he's now running side by side with Peter Backus. Backus is through, so Servicangos is just dropping down the field in this mountain section. And he's just lost about 5 positions within the few corners. Coming out of the mountain section now are the leaders, and Loeffler is going to be trying his hardest to get past McAuliffe, but for now they're holding on to the positions. Mike Davies is right behind in the slipstream of Jose Paul Miranda, as a number of drivers are going to be getting the slipstream along this main straight. But here goes Davies up the inside of Paulo Miranda, and he's going to be able to get it done in the Corvette before braking. As we get all the standings on the left-hand side there. Loeffler is trying his hardest to get past McAuliffe. That's for P number 4 in tonight's race. He's going to be able to do it on the exit of the final corner. Loeffler's now side by side with Greg McAuliffe coming up to turn number 1. Is he going to be able to hold it? He's got the inside line. He's done that, and he's been able to move up into P number 4. McAuliffe down to P number 5. Just behind, though, look at this. There's a huge train of cars coming up through turn number 1, exit of turn number 1 now, heading towards turn number 2. As there's a couple of side-by-side battles just up ahead. McAuliffe is trying to get past Loeffler there. Can't do it. Keeble up the inside, though, of Nate Idians, and Malachi Backus has been able to take advantage of that as well as the Mercedes. Nate Idians has dropped behind Jazz Forsberg as well. That's 3 cars in 1 corner. He's just dropped behind there. But overall, at the start of this race, I've only seen 1 incident, and that is an absolutely amazing start to a Bathurst race here. With these extremely fast and competitive GT3s, most of the drivers have kept it extremely clean. Laurie McLaurin all over the rear of Robert Servicangos here. Servicangos has been losing position hand over fist since the start of this race. He is sitting in P number 18 at the moment. Alexander Anderson is under attack from Tony Versti, who looks up the inside, coming down the mountain now, and that is an extremely dangerous place to make a move. He does back out, but look how tight that part of the course goes. Coming through then into the long straight. Look at how many cars are in such a small time of space. Every single gap is green as there is a car backwards. No! I'm trying to figure out who it is here. It's Kamil Gwiazdowski. He is around. And that's also Patrick van der Meulen around just up ahead. But that looked like he went around by himself. There's contact. Malachi Backus has been touched by Jazz Forsberg. Forsberg remains on the side of the course, allowing Malachi to get back running again. There he goes. And he even gives up about 3 other positions in the getting back onto the track as well. So that was a shame that incident happened, but Jazz Forsberg being a complete gentleman about it. 5 minutes down and only a couple of incidents, which is so many less than I was expecting. As they come through turn number 1 there, extremely close for all of our drivers once more. Mark Keeble looking to get past Greg McAuliffe, but we do have a battlefield race lead here. Christian Moreau has been able to get past Ismail Yakubu, who was our pole sitter in tonight's event. Yakubu is now half a second behind Christian Moreau, looking to gain back up the order. Oh, there's a big slide, but an amazing hold by Magnus Sternberg there. P number 13. Around the outside comes Jazz Forsberg, though. Forsberg keeps it extremely clean, leaves enough room. Forsberg up the position there, but no, because he's lost a little bit of time, and Sternberg coming back at him around the outside, but he's off the racing line now. Peter Backus attempting up the inside. Backus drops off, though. He does not push too hard. He knows that the mountain section of this course is so difficult to make an overtake on, so he's dropped behind, and he's done well in holding his position and not causing an incident there. Jose Paulo Miranda is just behind this battle going on, maybe trying to take advantage of the cars going relatively slowly compared to what they can run through that section. Looking through the course, Malachi Backus looking to recover from the incident with Jazz Forsberg, currently in P number 11. He's behind Tony Versti, looking for a top 10. Versti only about half a second off of Alexander Anderson himself, as the leaders get ever so close under the breaking point into this final chicane here. As you can see, the gap here is about 7 seconds between the leading two and the rest of the field. The two leaders are pulling away, but it does not mean the battle for the lead is any worse, because they're extremely close there. Versti has now got Malachi Backus looking up the inside. Backus has to drop out, can't quite make the move. Versti had the faster speed in his Audi compared to the Bentley that Malachi races so often. Coming through the final corner then, Backus now all over the rear of Versti, and we very possibly could see a move into turn number 1. Here goes Backus, looks for the inside, but no, sensibly drops it out. He's going to remain behind. Christian Moreau's lost out the lead. Christian Moreau has lost it to Ismail Yakubu along the main straight up through turn number 2. He looks for the outside, but into the mountain course, he's going to have to hang it behind for definite here. Malachi Backus, he's side by side with Tony Versti. It looks like he's going to be able to get past the Audi as Versti drops behind sensibly, coming up to the mounting section of the course. Backus now behind Anderson, and is going to be trying his hardest to get past the BMW as quickly and cleanly as possible. Moving through the order, Roy McLaurin running side by side with Sternberg there on the exit of turn number 2, but McLaurin has been able to gain the position. Up in your lead though, this is absolutely an amazing battle for your lead. We're going to ride on board here. At the moment, this is on board with Christian Moreau chasing down Ismail Yakubu. Coming onto the main straightaway now, and listen to the engines roar. We're on board the BMW of Christian Moreau. We have Ismail Yakubu just behind. Riding on board with Yakubu now. Here comes Christian Moreau up the inside. They're going to run side by side into the chicane. Who's going to be able to do it? It looks like Moreau's going to be able to hold it. There's a little bit of contact, but Moreau now on the exit. There's again contact. Moreau has to drop off. Yakubu defends the inside line. Moreau's going to attempt on the outside. Can't quite do it. Into the final corner. He's going to attempt to switch back, but now he can't turn tight enough. Yakubu doing a great defending move there. Moreau just looks out for the lead. Can't quite do it. Has to sit behind once more. Almost 10 minutes into the race, and we have an amazing fight for a lot of positions here. We're going to continue watching the battle for the lead at the moment, because along the straight, this is where Moreau lost it out last time. Coming up into turn number 2, will Moreau be able to make the move back through? He doesn't, and he's going to sit it behind into the mounting section of the course. But we got Malachi Backus going extremely sideways. He was about a 10th behind Anderson. Coming in as Christian Moreau's into the lead. As soon as we looked away, Christian Moreau made a move through turn number 2. Has been able to get back into the lead and already pull a second gap almost on Ismail Yakubu into the mountain course. And could that now be the lead battle for the lead over for now? Tony Versity still on the rear of Malachi Backus. That's for the top 10. Backus still trying his hardest to catch up to Alexander Anderson, who's just ahead in the BMW, that PlayStation livery BMW. But Versity's also got Charles Baccio all over his rear. Charles Baccio currently leading the Race Department Grand Prix Championship, so he knows all about competitive racing. Malachi Backus slams into the wall, and up the inside goes Tony Versity. They're running side by side. Backus is onto the grass. Versity hits the brakes, allows Backus back through, and they're going to hold position for now. Malachi Backus in 10th, Tony Versity in 11th, Charles Baccio just behind in 12th. Jazz Forsberg now getting involved just behind that as well, and also Peter Backus involved from 14th. That's a 5-car battle. That's a 6-car battle, sorry, for P number 9, but Backus has dropped off to about a second behind Alexander Anderson now. So maybe Anderson, the pressure's come off a little bit. He doesn't have to worry as much. There's a little bit of an incident between Mike Davies and Robert Savigandas as Mike Davies gets through. Savigandas losing out a little bit of time. Jazz Forsberg using as much slipstream as he can on Charles Baccio. Charles Baccio, one of the few drivers in the rough. Only 2 of them driving up the inside. Attempts Forsberg, can't quite do it. He's still got Backus on the rear, trying to get through. Can't quite make that move, so he's going to have to sit behind for now. It's an amazing battle going on. This is a battle for P number 9. Alexander Anderson leading half a second ahead of Malachi Backus. About 9/10 behind that, Tony Versity. About a second behind now is Charles Baccio. Lost a little bit of time with that. Jazz Forsberg about half a second, and then Peter Backus about 3/10. Jose Paul Miranda runs off at turn number 1 from P number 15. Laurie McLaughlin's going to gain the position there. The lead has still not changed since turn 2. A couple of laps to go. Christian Moreau leading Ismail Yacobu by about 6/10 at the moment. An amazing battle all the way through the field as Peter Backus is looking to get past Jazz Forsberg. Just last lap, Forsberg was attempting to get past Baccio, but after an unsuccessful attempt into the final chicane, he's got Peter Backus now attempting to get through. Running on board with Peter Backus now as he's looking towards Jazz Forsberg and Charles Baccio, but they've all seemed to have gained a position. Someone's dropped out here. Tony Versity is down to 16th. He's gone off. Wow, that is a real shame for Versity. Was running really well, getting to the top 10 as Backus hits the wall. This is an amazing battle. We're going to go look at P number 10 actually. Malachi Backus about half a second behind Alexander Anderson. That's looking for battle for 9th position at the moment. Malachi was obviously running well in the top 10. He's going to dive for the inside. That is an amazing late move. He's been able to run it side by side with Anderson. Not quite got the grip on the exit. I can't believe he was able to hold that. That must have frightened the life out of Alexander Anderson in that BMW, but now he's had to just sort of sit back in again. Backus about 3/10 down is still going to be piling the pressure on as Peter Backus just behind starts to pressure Jazz Forsberg coming into turn number 1, but no one able to make the move. Turn number 2 is going to be the location they're going to do it. Slipstream here for Malachi Backus. He's about 1/10 of a second behind Alexander Anderson. He's going to move out of the slipstream, goes for the inside up towards turn number 2. We're going to see the same behind. No, we do not. Jazz Forsberg holding a gap on Peter Backus, but goes through Malachi Backus, P number 9 here. He's now finally been able to make that move up to P number 9. Amazing indeed. Just behind though, Peter Backus still about 3/10 off of Jazz Forsberg for P number 12. Amazing racing going on as Savigandas, he's been having issues throughout this race. He continues to lose down positions. Now behind Lolo Stacco. Got 28. Oh, Stacco goes into the wall. Severikangas, I believe that's how you say it. I'm very sorry. Trying to get up there, but can't quite do it. We get the live timings up to the left-hand side once more. That is your current order. One driver out of the 29 drivers who started has currently retired, and that's Nicholas Gregory. So we're 15 minutes into the event. There is Gregory sitting in the pit lane. He was involved in a turn 1 accident, I believe. I believe it was when the McLaren went in, just broke a little bit too late, and he collected someone. Only one guy, I think. Unfortunately, it seems like that might have been Nicholas Gregory. It might have been Gregory, actually, because there are no McLarens racing. Yes, there are, but they're all up front. So it might have been Nicholas Gregory who missed his braking point on that opening lap, and it's forced him to retire, unfortunately. Tony Versity running really close with Magnus Sternbury here for P number 16. Really be able to make a move, can't quite do it. Versity was obviously in P number 11 just a few laps ago, but some mistake has caused him to fall down the order. Charles Baccio into a top 10 because Malachi Bacchus has gone off. Malachi Bacchus is down into P number 12. There you see him in the background. Heavy damage on the front of that Bentley. It's not really what he wants to see. Pit stop window has opened now, though. 45 minutes to go. The pit window is going to be open for half an hour. It's going to be interesting who will be the first of our drivers to dive down into the pit lane. It's definitely going to be interesting to see what will happen up in the leading positions for first and second. But at the moment, Charles Baccio all over the rear of Alexander Anderson for P number 9. Malachi Bacchus had to deal with this for quite some time until he eventually made the move through. And Bacchus sort of dropped off, and Malachi Bacchus sort of dropped off on that. They had some sort of mistake that's dropped him back outside of top 10. Alexander Anderson, we're currently on board here as they come down the mountain, looking back towards Charles Baccio. It's about half a second still between your race leaders. I am looking at the gap, and Alexander Anderson is into the wall. Alexander Anderson is into the wall, down outside of a top 10. That's promoted Charles Baccio into P number 9. It's put Peter Bacchus into P number 10. Malachi Bacchus now, he's once again looking over the rear of Alexander Anderson. As they head up along the main straight here, Bacchus is going to be trying to get as much slipstream as possible. Peter Bacchus will be trying to do the same on Charles Baccio just up ahead. But at the moment, it seems like the order remaining the same here. As we have a second retirement by the look of it. No, we do not. We have a driver in the pit lane. That is Neil Lana. He is the first driver into pit lane from 28th position. So we currently look at Peter Bacchus here. He's behind Charles Baccio. Going to have a little look at a battle that we've not been watching much. It's a battle for P number 5. Mark Keeble leading Nate Idions. Greg McCall was involved in that battle before, but he's had some sort of mistake that's dropped him down out of those top positions. Peter Bacchus right on the rear of Charles Baccio, hoping to make a move through. Can't quite do it, which is a real shame, but he's going to have to hold it behind through the mountain section. It sounds easy, just pressure the guy in front of you, but sometimes the pressure gets to you. And trying to follow a car through some of the tightest course running that you can do in a GT3, it's a lot of pressure, and we've seen so many cars go into that wall. Bacchus having a little bit of a scrape there. We are going to go have a little look at the battle for the lead. We've not been watching this much, but the gap has increased now. Oh, sorry, come down now. It's about 0.2 of a second. It's closing along the straight, but Jacobu's not going to be able to make the move. Coming up to the braking point, he's going to have to remain behind, and this is what I'm seeing constantly in the timing. Although Jacobu is closing up, he definitely is getting closer to Moreau, and it's going to be interesting though to see whether they get change positions or how far apart they'll go after the pit stop stage. It's going to be interesting to see who's the first to dive it down pit lane, who's the first to blink, if it were. Currently looking at Nate Idions. He's heading up to the final corner here. He's chasing down Mark Keeble, but Ismail Jacobu all over the rear. He's going to look for the lead past Christian Moreau, going to the outside. Will he be able to get the move done before turn 2 on that outside line? It's going to be difficult unless Moreau tucks it back in. Going into the mountain section. No, Moreau's going to try his hardest to defend the position. There's contact, and Moreau is around. Moreau is around from second position. Jacobu takes the lead. There's about 10 seconds between first and second now. Moreau loses it to third. Sven Deutschmann gets promoted into second. And Andreas Loeffler has just been gifted an opportunity to get onto a podium here. Looking at Peter Backus. Is he going to make the move on Charles Paggio? He's going to look to go around the outside. Can't quite do it. A little bit of a wobble there. Running behind the roof. BMW doing extremely well to keep it on the circuit. As we continue through with 40 minutes to go. They come through down the mountain now. A little bit over the edge of the course goes Peter Backus. As we continue to look through the order, I'm trying to see what all the gaps are. Steve Legale having a nice consistent run in 20th position. Steve Legale, a very gentleman driver in our clubs. He's not the fastest, but he certainly is one of the cleanest. And he's doing really well actually in that BMW, chasing down Lolo Stacco for a 19th position. They're about half a second between each other there, and we don't look at the rear end of the field too often in these race events, and it's a real shame because we do get a number of good battles, and proving that now, Mike Davies, P number 16, looking to get past Magnus Sternberg for P15. They're going to be running side by side now. Will Davies be able to hold his line and get through? Looks like he's been able to pull just a car length ahead. Yes, he has. Coming under braking though, will Sternberg look for a way back through? No, he doesn't. Mike Davies up to P number 15 now. Up in P number 5 though, that's the battle for P number 5. Mark Keeble leading Nate Idians, the Corvette leading the McLaren here. No overtake being made, and again this section of the course, we're not going to see overtakes unless there are mistakes. So Nate Idians sits it behind for now, and he's going to have to run it in P number 6 until the end of the section and getting off of the mountain course. Anderson though, all over the rear of Jazz Forsberg. They were extremely close there, about 3/10 heading up the mountain, but once again going into one of the hardest sections to overtake. Nate Idians still all over the rear of Mark Keeble here. We look at the gap, it's about half a second coming down the mountain now in this battle and a pursuit for Nate Idians as P5 very much in his grasp here. Coming off of the mountain now and onto the very long straight. Idians will be in as much slipstream from Keeble as he possibly can get. You can see that time is dropping. Continues to drop here, but I don't think it's going to close up enough coming under braking. Listen to the engines as they roar along the main straight. Coming down into the chicane. Both drivers running a little bit wider than you normally would. Both being pressured and a little bit of a wobble from Keeble. Idians keeping it a lot smoother there as they come now up to the final turn. Idians still in P number 5, looking to get past Mark Keeble for P number 4. Christian Moreau looking to recover from the incident that he had and get past Sven Deutschmann. It's going to be interesting whether he'll be able to make that move or not. There are about 9/10 between them at the moment. We see a number of drivers out. Malachi Backus also out. Martin Fiala also out. Andreas Loeffler also out of tonight's event as Christian Moreau looking on the mountain course to get around the outside of Sven Deutschmann. Deutschmann very graciously and with quick thinking backs off there. Allows Moreau through, who was not waiting up at all, pushing it so hard that he ran into the wall there before getting it back onto the course. 12 seconds is the gap between Moreau and Ismail Yakubu, our race leaders. We see Magnus Sternberg into the pit lane for his mandatory stop. Nate Idion still all over the rear of Mark Keeble here. Will he be able to close up and get past along the main straight? It's going to be interesting as they head up now to the final few corners of the mountain section. A little bit of a wobble for Idions and a little bit of a mistake. And that's going to lose him a little bit of time as he goes into the tire wall coming onto the main straight as well. He's now losing time to Mark Keeble. It's not what you want going on to the longest straight on the course. Looking through though, it's going to be interesting when our drivers come into pit. We've obviously seen a few drivers down pit lane already. Magnus Sternberg being the highest of our drivers. He's currently in P number 19. He's the highest one currently have done the mandatory stop, as we're currently looking at Ismail Yakubu. He's our race leader and he's been doing really well. He obviously had that huge battle with Christian Moreau up until the point that some sort of incident happened as Moreau attempted to hold it up the inside. Yakubu was able to hold the outside line through this turn here, turn number 2, as there's been some sort of, there's been some sort of incident, but no, but Evangelos Parginos into the pit lane here. So he's one of our early stoppers in the top 10. So he's one of our first stoppers from the drivers in the top 9. Nate Idion's still looking for P number 4 past Mark Keeble. About 3 tenths between them here, looking to get through. We see Christian Moreau around once more, battling with Sven Duishman through that mountain section. Just isn't going to work, and it's forced Christian Moreau to go around once again. Just behind that, Nate Idions and Mark Keeble now are catching up to Christian Moreau, who's made 2 mistakes in this race, both in the mountain course, or the mountain section of the course, and that means that Keeble and Idions have a chance at a podium here. Oh, there's another tap at the wall by Nate Idions as they come through down the mountain. Continue around now through onto the main straight. You can see Moreau just that little bit up the road. Nate Idions, what is he going to be able to do here as we sit on board with Mark Keeble? Nate all over the rear. Idions going to be looking to get through. It's about a quarter of a second now. Closing. Under braking. He's going to have to sit it behind once more as they come through the final chicane up towards the final corner. Nate Idions is doing his hardest to stay with this battle, and he's doing so. He's really staying in this battle for P number 4. And with Christian Moreau making mistakes, he's been able to pull out a gap once again to these guys. But it's interesting to see as Christian Moreau actually is down pit lane. So he comes in to stop at the very last pit box there. Well, I believe it's the very last pit box. He is down pit lane. Nate Idions then is now looking for P number 3 to get past Mark Keeble. It's going to be interesting to see whether these 2 drivers are able to jump Moreau in the pit lane, because we've seen so many drivers gain time, yet so many drivers lose time in the pits. And one of our biggest time loss that we've seen was a while back with Reggie Blaine. He was leading the the P2 class, I believe, around Indianapolis GT in a multi-class event. He went into pit and he lost almost a minute in that pit lane. And we just don't know what happened. He didn't spin, he didn't crash, he was just in that pit lane for a whole minute, which meant that he lost his lead to the race. He actually lost almost every single position in the P2 class, and I think one mistake could very much bring the end to someone's race. Even though Yakubu has got that 13.5 second lead, it very much could be absolutely obliterated in the pit stop stages of tonight's motor race. I mean, pit stops are open. They've been open for about quarter of an hour now. We're halfway through the event. This is when we're going to see most of the drivers dive into the pit lane. It is this halfway point in tonight's race, because most drivers will now then know that that they can run these tyres to a certain limit. But again, some drivers will be pushing as hard as they can to go as far as they can. because that way they will be able to pit up less fuel. Nate Idians dives into the pit lane from the battle for P number 3. Nate Idians dives into the pit lane. We're going to see where he comes out in relative to Christian Moreau. That's going to be an interesting one. Moreau coming through the final section of corners now. We also see most of the rear end of the field also come in, as Moreau makes the move past Charles Baccio there along the main straight. Both of them keeping it rather clean. Baccio has damage on his car as well, so it definitely seems like he's been in the wars tonight. Moreau has come out ahead of Nate Idians because Nate is still in the pit lane. This is what I mean. Christian Moreau has gained almost 20 seconds on Nate Idians, who still sits in that pit lane. And here comes Malachi Bacchus. I believe that's Malachi. No, it's not. That is Laurie McLaurin. McLaurin already through. What is going on? Why is Idians not moving? He is completely just thrown away his race. That's what I said. You're going to see so many people lose out. He's been in that pit lane for almost 40 seconds as he comes out of the pit. That's a real shame. Nate Idians out of the pits in P number 14. But he has lost it now, a total of about 30. No, he has lost it 40 seconds to Christian Moreau. Going into the pit lane here, well, when Christian Moreau came into the pit lane, they were only about 5 seconds apart. So he's lost 35 seconds in that pit stop. And that's surely going to be a battle for the top 5 positions out of the window for Nate Idians. He's no longer, the highest of the drivers who have pitted. Lloyd Malloyne already has done his pit. Jazz Forsberg already done his pit. Jose Paul Miranda, Vangelis Parginas already done his pits. And of course, Christian Moreau sits in 5th, already done his mandatory stop as well. Jose Paul Miranda, though, what for the mountain course, chasing down Parginos. Coming down the main straight. This is amazing racing going on at the moment, and like I say, pit stops are going to change absolutely everything. As I believe Mark Keeble is now into 2nd. Yes, that means Sven Deutschmann has made his stop and has lost it to Christian Moreau. Christian Moreau has jumped Sven Deutschmann and has got into a net P2, currently P3 under overall. Reggie won that race. I must be thinking another driver then. I know. Oh, you must have gained that time or something to someone. I know that you were involved though. It very must be your dad then that I was talking about. Sorry about that, Reggie Belaine. That is, I was talking about earlier on the P2s around Indianapolis. Losing out a lot of time must have been Reggie Belaine Sr. involved in that one, and not Reggie Belaine, who actually went on and won. Alexander Anderson currently in 8th position, chasing down Greg McAuliffe. McAuliffe has actually been going backwards in this race. He was originally battling for P number 3 with Mark Keeble, then unfortunate incidents came around and he sort of dropped down the order, currently in P number 7 at the moment. As we continue to look down the order, and it looks like Kamil Gordzinski actually having a nice little run, rather close to Magne Sandoy here. That's a battle for P number 20 at the rear end of the field. It's about a second between the drivers at the moment. As we see our race leader into the pit lane, Ismail Yakubu already done his stop, already out. Mark Keeble coming along the straight. He's yet to make a stop. Yet Yakubu is still ahead of him by 10 seconds on the circuit. That is absolutely amazing. When are we going to see Keeble in though? We've still got about 11 minutes of the pit window still open. As we're continuing along at the moment, Jazz Forsberg also having a nice little battle with Tony Versti. Versti was originally in this top 10 position, battling for a top 10 position before an incident in the early stages of the race. He's yet to make a pit stop, and there he dives into the pits in his Audi from P number 11. The Spaniard comes into the pit lane. Alexander Anderson also in the pit lane in his PlayStation livery BMW. Away he goes, not losing too much time at all there. He's continuing to run away now. Still in a top 10. Will he remain in that position on pit exit? Yes, he will, but he's got Laurie McLaurin all over the rear now. And on cold tyres, Anderson might have difficulties holding that position heading up to turn number 2. To continue around at the moment. And Jose Paul Miranda coming out of the pits and led Mike Davies to allow through on the exit of turn number 1. He stayed completely out of the way. It is very possible that Christian Moreau did not take tyres in that pit stop. That could be the reason he's been able to jump so much time in the pit lane and get into a net second position. As I'm being told in the chat here, Nate Idians for sure took tyres, which a lot of drivers seem to have not taken, or at least certainly didn't take all of the tyres, which is probably why Nate is so far down and now outside of a top 10, with only 3 drivers to come into the pits now from the top 10. We're yet to see Mark Keeble from 2nd position, Charles Baccio from 4th position, and Peter Backus from 6th position. We're yet to see those come down pit lane. It's going to be interesting to see when they do make that stop. Still got 9 minutes worth of time to do that mandatory pit stop. I believe Charles Baccio is into the pit lane. Yes, he is. Charles Baccio now making his mandatory pit stop in that rough. Peter Backus continues on though, now up to P number 5. Greg McCaff gets promoted up to P number 6 then as he took past Baccio in the pit lane. Baccio coming out now. He's got Paginos about 2.5 seconds behind on track. For now, it seems relatively clean. Mike Davies chasing down Magne Sande here. Coming up to the final few corners. And will the Corvette be able to get past the BMW once more? I think we see these two battling quite a lot this race. They've been definitely exchanging positions a number of times. And Mike Davies is going to be trying to do that once again here. We ride on board here with Davies as he's chasing down Sturbury through the final corner. The Corvette chasing down the Alpina here. Up to turn number 1. Attempting to get a tighter line through the exit of turn number 1. Can't quite do it. Right on the rear wing of Magnus Sternbury, and here comes Mike Davies up the inside, up onto the mountain course. Will he be able to, the mountain section of the course, so he's going to be able to hold it. Sternbury runs extremely wide, leaving more than enough room for Mike Davies, scraping the outside barrier with allowing him through. We're almost 2/3 of the way through this race now, and we're yet to see Mark Keeble from 2nd and Peter Backus from 5th down pit lane. Charles Baccio about 1.5 seconds behind Greg McCalf. That's battling for 6th position. Charles Baccio has been running actually. He's been gaining up positions with mistakes from other drivers throughout the course of this race. And we actually have all the way down to 24th retires. We have 23 cars still remaining, which is still a lot more. We've only had 6 retirements in this 40 minutes of racing around Bathurst and GT3s. It's absolutely amazing. If you have enjoyed this so far, be sure to hit the thumbs up button, of course, and also subscribe. It helps out a heck of a lot. Feel free to donate. There's a link in the description down below as well. We head into the final 20 minutes to go. If you want to get involved in this racing, be sure to head over to RaceDepartment.com and become a premium member today. It's only €10 for the entire year, of which you can get involved in these club events and our wonderful league events. At the moment, our league events are drawing to a close, with the RDTCC ending with its finale in 2 weeks' time, and the RDGPC finishing very soon as well. Obviously, we do have the Le Mans series still running, the 24 hours of Le Mans next weekend. All our drivers as, oh no, Charles Baccio into the wall through the mountain course. He got too close to Macau and he scraped the wall there. That is a real shame, and now he has lost that battle to P number 6. I will say we do have the Le Mans event, 24 hours of Le Mans, over 150 drivers, 40 teams, 20 P2s and 20 GTEs going out to the track. We have the entire broadcast, the entire 24 hours being brought live to you with the entire commentary team and broadcast team as well. We've obviously got so many members behind the scenes as well in our live streaming, so be sure to join us next weekend, and thank every single one. We're obviously still giving away our Thrustmaster piece of equipment as well, so be sure to join the stream to find out how you can win a piece of Thrustmaster equipment as we're coming through into the final 20 minutes of the race. 5 minutes until the pit window is done, and I completely missed it. Mark Keeble has made his mandatory stop. He is about 5 seconds down off of Sven Deutschmann, but it looks like he has also taken tyres. So Nate Idian's definitely had some sort of issue in the pit lane, because Mark Keeble has definitely taken tyres in that stop as well. Also looking through with the dirt, we had a dirt rally league event. We had that, we just finished that actually about a month ago, I believe. Had an amazing event, and do not fret, guys. There will obviously be another rally event in the making on the dirt games. More information will be up in about 2 or 3 months. Of course, it takes a lot of planning, so don't think it will come around just like that. A back market in Mark Keeble's way here. That's Magne Sandoy hoping that he'll move out of the way. Blue flag showing. He gets out of the way as they come down to Manning. He did that in a very sensible location, actually. It's very hard to move out of the way in the mountain section of this course. I mean, it's extremely hard to overtake, let alone purposely move out of the way and let someone through without causing an incident. And he waited for the perfect moment. He didn't slow down or come off his line in any way until the moment that he decided to allow Keeble through. Just up ahead, Peter Backus also getting past another back marker, I believe. That was Kamil Gwiazdowski that's being lapped there. Yes, it is. He's running around in the Bentley as well. We have 2 or 3 Bentleys running around tonight. No, 5 Bentleys. That's the most that we've ever had run around in an event. We have 6 Bentleys. Oh my word, it's just going up as I look through. 6 Bentleys running. That is the most I've ever seen. 7 Bentleys. My word, this is such good stuff. Kamil Gwiazdowski currently here in 20th position. He is as Peter Backus into the pit lane. Peter Backus into the pit lane, and Mark Keeble up to P number 4. And our Bentley drivers: Christian Moreau, Sven Deutschmann, Jazz Forsberg, Laurie McLaurin, Jose Paula Miranda, Robert Ganos, and Kamil Gwiazdowski. We've also had a few retirements that were also in, one retirement, or is that 2? 2 retirements that were also in the Bentley. And J.S. Lofter finished 24th overall in retirement, and Malachi Backus 26 overall. That Bentley being the driver that we see him pretty much stapling in the car. 2 minutes remaining at the pit window, but every single one of our drivers that are still racing have made their mandatory stop, as we see someone in for a second time. Anderson making a second stop here. We'd already seen him come in, so maybe that was an issue. Maybe he didn't take up enough fuel in the very early stop that he did, because he came in pretty much as soon as the window opened. Charles Baccio slowly catching up to Greg McAuliffe for P number 5 in tonight's race. So after all the pit stops have concluded, let's talk us through the current standings. Ismail Yakubu is leading the race here by about 20 seconds ahead of Christian Moreau. Sven Deutschmann is in 3rd position. Mark Keeble attempting to close up the 5 seconds that stand between him and a podium position. Greg McCall sitting in 5th position, just ahead of Charles Baccio, who we're looking at here, who sits in 6th. Vangelis Pargino sits in 7th position with Peter Backus in 8th. Jazz Forsberg sits in 9th, and Loin rounds out your top 10. Further down your order then, Nate Idion starting to recover on his issues in the pit lane. He's up to 11th now, about 2 seconds behind McLaurin. He then has Versity, Davies, Anderson, Sternbury just behind that. There's actually a really close battle here because Anderson has just lost out to Mike Davies for P number 13 as they're heading down the mountain course. Through the rest of your field, though, as we quickly run through with Paulo Miranda, Colin Hurst, Savagrengas, Steve Legale, Grudziński, Sandoy, Chris Migut, and Patrick van der Meulen running out your runners tonight. 23 drivers still in tonight's event. Migut and van der Meulen a lap off of the lead here. They're the only 2 drivers off of the lead lap at the moment, I believe. No, we do have a number of other drivers off the lead lap. It's just not showing as 1 lap down. Magne Sandoy, Kamil Grudziński, Steve Legale, Robert Savagrandes, Colin Hurst, Jose Paulo Miranda, Magnus Sternbury. Sorry, no, Jose Paulo Miranda is not off the lead lap. Colin Hurst is the final. Paulo Miranda is the final driver off the lead lap. Colin Hurst is the first driver to be lapped. But it is still really close at the end of this pit stop window. As you can see, all the pit stops on the left-hand side have disappeared. The window has now closed. And Charles Baccio is looking to get past McAuliffe. He's closed up during the mountain section of the course, and it's going to be extremely difficult to make a move down. You can see he's had to back off for now. He did look up the inside, but he's thought better of it. He thought twice of that move, and he's going to stick it behind for now. He's just seen fly past the camera. There is a back marker just up the way. Hopefully he won't cause too many issues and he'll move out of the way of the blue flags. That's Kamil Grudziński currently running in pit number 20 in tonight's motor race. Charles Baccio chasing down Greg McAuliffe, looking for P number 5. Still a very nice battle for a top 5 indeed. It's a shame Nate Idion's lost out on that battle with Mark Keeble, which would currently be for P number 4. Keeble running very lonely on the circuit at the moment, about 6 seconds behind Dushman, about 12 seconds ahead of this battle between McAuliffe and Baccio. Nate Idions, though, is still getting in some battles. He's chasing down the Bentley of Lloyd McLaurin. That's for the top 10. Nate Idions, I think after the issues he had in the pit lane, a top 10 would be an amazing finish for him as he's coming up to the final chicane here. Will he be able to make a move? I don't think he's a bit too far behind. Still keeping an eye on your timings, and this is definitely the closest battle, but Charles Baccio still only about half a second off of McAuliffe. This gap, though, about a quarter of the second heading into the final corner. We're going to ride on board with Idions here, 2 tenths behind Lloyd McLaurin. With 13 minutes to go as they cross the line, heading into turn number 1, we're surely going to see a move by Idions up into turn number 2. McLaurin actually getting a better turn number 1. That's going to give it an advantage now coming out of the first turn. Idion's going to be trying his hardest to catch up and maybe make a move, but he can't. That time is gaining. The gap increasing here, heading up towards the mountain section. That's probably why Idions has been having such a hard time getting into a top 10 and getting past Lloyd McLaurin. He's able to close up in the mountain section. He's able to close up. Oh, as he tries for the inside, that's a little bit of a mistake by McLaurin. That's what I mean. He gets so close to overtaking in the mountain section, but just cannot do it because it is the mountain section. And it's just so hard to overtake. But coming to the longer straights, he just drops off. Maybe he just doesn't have as low a downforce as the McLaurin, and he just doesn't have as good a top speed. But look at that. Look how close. Having to come off the accelerator. He knows there's no way through. Taps the wall. Keeps it all clean. Other than that, though, as he's heading now down the mountain, absolutely no way through here. Gonna have to stay behind. He's gonna try and keep it as close as possible. Maybe get the slipstream on the exit of the mountain course and try to get a nice tight line. There he goes. As tight line as possible here. Getting the slipstream from McLaurin, but that gap once again opening. Like I say, it closes along in the mountain section. You get to the main straights and it increases once more. Charles Baccio, though, he's about the same gap, about half a second behind Greg McAuliffe. Still in the battle for P number 5 here. Charles Baccio will be trying his hardest to catch up and get some slipstream, but it doesn't look like he's going to be able to do that. Another battle that seems to be closing in. Colin Herx and Sir Robert Svigangas there. But we go back to look at this battle for P number 10. And Nate Idians, he's now right up in the slipstream. There's still time being lost. McLaurin's still gaining away. He's definitely got a lower downforce setup than Nate Idians, which is why Idians probably able to close up so much in the mounting section of the course. Anderson around out of the final turn. He is going to be out, hopefully staying out of the way. That was Colin Herx going through there, I believe. They're gaining back a lap. Magnus Sternberg, though, all over the rear. That is for position. Nate Idians, though, still over the rear of McLaughlin into the mountain section. Charles Baccio has lost out about a second to Greg McCow, so some sort of issue has arisen there. Coming now through the mountain section. Magnus Sternberg heading up to the mountain section. He's about 3/10 up of Anderson. Can't do anything at the moment. Gonna have to remain behind. Continue through now, in through the midfield part of the course. Into the mountain section. Sternberg's gonna go for the inside. Goes for a gap that was left up the inside of Alexander Anderson. But he can't do it. Lost a little bit of time. And now just up ahead. Look at this. Nate Idians all over the rear of Lloyd McLaurin out of the mountain section. But does the gap increase? Will the gap increase? It does. It is increasing. It's so strange to see with such good slipstream that the gap increases, but not anymore. Idians closing. He's going to move for the inside. Under braking up the inside of Lloyd McLaurin. McLaurin leads in the room. It's close, but Idians not able to make the move. McLaurin holding on to P number 10. This is an absolute fantastic battle going on for the bottom end of the top 10 with only 8.5 minutes to go, and that's a slide by both McLaurin and Idians, both almost into the wall. Idians has lost out more time though, and now almost a second between them. As they come through the exit turn number 1, Idians is surely going to lose some time along this first straight, but heading into that mountain course, the gap will surely close up. Just up ahead though, Widozinski catching up to Zandoy, and we're going to have a little look at that whilst I have a drink. My word. So really we've got 4 battles to focus on at the moment. Charles Baccio and Gun McAuliffe. However, that has stayed put about 1.5 seconds. Nate Idians, though, is all over the rear of Lloyd McLaurin, piling the pressure on through the mountain course. That's for P number 10, just ahead on circuit, but at the rear of the field. P20 and P21. Gwiazinski trying to get past Sandoy. Now, they're both going to be blue flags at this part of the circuit. Surely they're going to continue running until the end of the mountain course, and they're going to move out of the way along the straight. That's what I would assume, and that's what's going to happen. They stay running just up ahead of them. There's contact, because there is contact. There's actually contact between Sandoy and Gwiazinski, and there's more contact, and that has collected Tony Versity from P number 12. Sandoy, who was taken out by Gwiazinski, there was a little bit of contact there, and that's what sent them both into the barrier. Luckily, though, as Sternberg had to gain position because Anderson is around again, Gwiazinski did allow Sandoy back through, so really gentleman driving there. Jose Paul Miranda, though, all over the rear of Alexander Anderson now for P number 15. Still that gap between Idians and McLaurin, about half a second, so I'm going to keep my eye on that. It closes down in the braking zone, but that's purely because they are getting better. As they're going side by side now, Jose Paul and Miranda is side by side with a back marker. Sorry, that is actually... No, sorry, that's Ismail Yakubu. Ismail Yakubu, our race leader, was getting involved in this battle between Alexander Anderson and Jose Paul and Miranda. The gap opens and Idians is now all over the rear. Lloyd McLaurin, it's about a quarter of a second. That battle for P number 10 still raging on. 6 minutes to go. Nate Idians, he cannot go for a move past Laurie McLaurin. He's not going to be able to in this mountain section, but still piling the pressure on as much as he possibly can here. As we're running on board with Laurie McLaurin now, he's got Nate Idians over the rear of him. It's about 3/10. As you can see how close Idians is getting to him, putting the pressure on. But you can see he just drops off a little bit, not trying to get through. He's not going to go for an overtake in the mounting part of the course. You just don't want to do that. It's so dangerous, and we've already seen a few people put it into the wall trying to do that. Christian Moreau being one of those drivers. Currently in second position, but only because Deutschmann pulled off the accelerator and Moreau ran wide into the wall around the outside. Idians though, what is he going to be able to do along the straight? Again, it seems like he's going to be losing along the straight. That's what's happened every single lap. But in that mountain course, the pass where you just cannot overtake anyone is the place where you cannot overtake anyone is where Idians actually closes up to be able to overtake McLaurin. But the good news is actually, well, not good news for Peter Backus, for Jazz Forsberg, sorry. Peter Backus is all over the rear now of Jazz Forsberg. That's for P number 8. As they're coming up to the line, we've still got a number of battles going along around the circuit. Gwiazinski once again has caught up to Sandoy. That's for P20. They obviously had that incident a couple of laps ago heading out of the mounting section. Gwiazinski allowed Sandoy back through in the position to be gained once more. As here comes Backus over the rear of Jazz Forsberg. Will he be able to make the move heading up into turn number 2 into the mounting section of the course? He's going to try the outside line. Slots it in. He's going to try the switch back. Can he do it? There's a little bit of a wobble, and no, he can't. Jazz Forsberg holds the position. He holds that position rather well. P number 8 still to Jazz Forsberg. Peter Backus sitting in P number 9, just behind. That battle between McLaurin and Idians is starting to open up. Idians losing out a little bit. Will he be able to close up once again through the mounting section? Yes, he will. He goes up about a second in just one corner. That just shows the difference of downforce, because Nate Idians is definitely getting the better speed through the mountain section, which helped in qualifying, but in the race he's losing out so much time on the straight. Laurie McLaurin just up ahead in P number 10, trying his hardest to defend that position. Jose Paulo is still battling with Alexander Anderson for P15, and for P20, Gwiazinski still on the rear of Magne Sandoy. 3 minutes to go in tonight's race, and we have still got a number of battles really going well at the moment. We look at Peter Backus as he's chasing down Jazz Forsberg. Will he be able to make a move into turn 2 this time? He attempted it last time, but he just wasn't quite close enough. Coming out to the final the penultimate chicane, sorry, the penultimate corner, the final chicane. Peter Backus about 3/10 into the final corner now. Will an overtake be present here as they come up to the line? They cross the line as the engines roar, heading under braking now with 2.5 minutes to go. Peter Backus runs wide on the exit of turn number 1, and the gap increases. And McLaurin has lost the position to Nate Idians. Nate Idians into 10th position. Nate Idians into a top 10 with just 2 minutes to go. That's just 2 laps from where Ismail Yakubu is. 2 laps for these drivers. Ismail Yakubu, I think, will get 1 more lap in. Yes, he will. So Yakubu coming up to the final corner to go on to the final lap of the race. An amazing battle he had at the beginning stages of the race with Christian Moreau until Moreau spun in turn number 2. I'm not sure if there was contact or it was just a genuine spin. But Ismail Yakubu has been leading the race ever since. Even when he went into the pit stops, he was able to hold the lead over Mark Keeble, who was yet to make his stop. But Ismail Yakubu, an absolute dominant drive by the British driver. He leads the Canadian of Christian Moreau, who was able to recover from his couple of mistakes and in the pit stop gain about 20 seconds. It's absolutely an amazing recovery in that pit stop by Christian Moreau. Alexander Anderson loses his position here to Jose Paul Miranda. They've been battling. And that was into turn number 2. We're going to go back and have a look at here. As Ismail Yakovic comes around, but Peter Backus is going to try to make the move on Jazz Forsberg. This is a P number 8. He's going to go for the outside. It's going to be inside of the chicane. He drops behind, though. He actually drops behind, being very patient, and he's forced a mistake. Jazz Forsberg makes a mistake, and there's contact, and Forsberg's off, and he's spun it on the penultimate lap. Jazz Forsberg is into the gravel. He's going to get the car started. Will he be able to hold the position on Nate Idians, or will Idians be able to gain the position? Idians now all over the rear of Forsberg, going to go up the inside into the final turn. And Idians up to P number 9 as, oh my god, Vangelis Parginos isn't going to make the additional lap. He's into the pit lane. Jazz Forsberg up the inside of Nate Idians, though, into turn number 1. They're now battling for P number 8 because, oh my word, Parginos has just rejoined the track ahead of Forsberg and Idians. The final lap of the race, Ismail Yakovic is going to win, but it's a three-way battle for P number 8 on the final lap of the race. After an hour racing, Parginos has got about a second to Jazz Forsberg. Idians about a half a second behind, but Parginos runs wide, and now Forsberg is going to be able to make a move. Or will he? Because it's the mountain section of the course. He's got to keep it as close as possible. Idians has got to keep it as close as possible. We know Idians has got a lack of speed, so when coming to that straight, he's going to have a hard job getting past Forsberg, who's also going to have slipstream from Parginos. But Idians is going to try and make a move in the mountain section. He tries around the outside, can't do it. Yakovic is going to win this race. I would have watched him cross the line, but this battle is crazy because Forsberg is right behind Parginos, and Idians trying to get involved, can't quite do it. Laurie McLaurin is involved at the rear of this as well. It's a four-way battle on the final lap of the race after 1 hour of racing here at Bathurst. This is crazy. Parginos leads Forsberg. Forsberg leads Idians. Idians leads McLaurin. They come down onto the longest straight on the circuit. Who's going to lose out? Who's going to gain? Parginos, he is gaining on Forsberg along this straight. Forsberg gaining on Idians. McLaurin closing on Idians. The four start to separate. Who's going to crack from the pressure into this final chicane? I don't know. Parginos, he's been able to run it smooth. Forsberg runs over the circuit right well. Idians runs through cleanly as well. It remains clean, but Jazz Forsberg is a little bit slower out of the final chicane. It's crazy, but it's going to be Parginos to cross the line in 8th. Forsberg to cross the 9 in 9th. Nate Idians to take 10th position. And Laurie McLaurin to cross the line in 11th. That is crazy, crazy stuff. Most of the drivers now have finished the race. Oh my word. I cannot breathe. That is huge. An amazing battle in the final stages, and these are your race results. Ismail Yakovic taking the win, 26 seconds ahead of Christian Moreau. Sven Deutschmann finished in 3rd position, followed by Mark Keeble in 4th. Greg McCalf finished in 5th, followed by Charles Baccio, Peter Backus, Jazz Forsberg, Nate Idians, and Laurie McLaurin. Tony Versity finished in 11th, followed by Parginos, Mike Davies in 13th, followed by Sternbury in 14th. Jose Pula Miranda finished in 15th, followed by Anderson, Severakangas in 17th. Steve Legale coming across the line in 18th position. Hertz in 19th. Sando finished in 20th position. In 21st was Gwiazdzinski. In 22nd was McGirt. And Van der Meulen rounds out your finishing field. Loeffler, Frayela, Backus, Gregory, Lana, and Stacco all retiring from the race. By the looks of it, Stacco had a disqualification definitely near the end of the race as well. And oh my word, I cannot breathe. That was all the way down to the line after 1 hour of racing. That was absolutely fantastic racing. If you've enjoyed that, be sure to subscribe. Like I said earlier on, be sure to hit that thumbs up button as well. We are going to be going live a number of days this week. And this weekend, well, next weekend, of course, we have the 24 hours of Le Mans on R Factor 2 for our Race Department Le Mans series. Over 150 drivers, 40 cars onto the circuit for 24 hours of racing. That was absolutely fantastic. If you want to get involved in a race like this, be sure to head over to RaceDepartment.com and become a premium member. You can race all the guys that are on the field tonight. You can race in our other clubs as well. We race on R Factor 2, Automobilista and Assetto Corsa, as well as Race Room, and we get just as good battling on every single one. That was crazy. Woo! And there's been a link thrown into the chat. You've got to go and have a look at tonight, and you can go and join our RDGTC Season 7 general discussion, because we're going to be having a league on this wonderful Race Room game. Hopefully I will be allowed to bring you the broadcast, because I would love to commentate these races. So yeah, if you're listening, Race Department, please, thank you. I would love to bring you these. We're going to be running the GTC on Race Room, and if you want to go check out that post, that will be starting in September. It's going to be absolutely fantastic. The very brutal GT3s. Hopefully we can race here at Bathurst, because that was fantastic. Thank you very much for joining us here tonight. I need a drink. I need to sleep, because I have so much to do tomorrow. And oh my word, that was fantastic. I hope you have enjoyed. Be sure to become a premium member to join up for that league for sure. It's definitely worth getting the content. Race Room was obviously a free game, but all the content you get to buy. There were a few free cars and tracks with it. And Race Department is worth the €10 for the entire year. I'm going to go to sleep, because my God, that was exhausting. Thank you very much for joining here tonight. I hope you have enjoyed it, and goodbye.